Welcome back to our YouTube channel. This is Narayan Rao Kovur. In this video, we are going to explain income demand. What is income demand? Goods are how many types? What is the shape of the demand curve in the case of superior goods? What is the shape of the demand curve in the case of inferior goods? So now let us examine income demand. So income demand means it explains the functional relationship between income of the consumer and demand for a commodity. This is called income demand. So how demand changes as changes in the income of the consumer. That is explained by income demand. Based on consumer's income, goods are generally classified into two categories. Based on income of the consumer, goods are generally classified into two categories. One is normal goods or superior goods. Second one is inferior goods. One is normal or superior goods. Another one is inferior goods. So now let us examine first the details of normal goods or superior goods. Normal goods or superior goods are those whose demand increases as income increases and vice versa. If income increases, demand for superior goods also increases. If income decreases, the demand for superior goods also decreases. Those goods are called normal goods or superior goods. So normal goods are those whose demand increases as income increases and vice versa. Those goods are called normal goods. So most of the consumer goods are normal goods. Most of the consumer goods are normal goods. For example, household furniture, durable consumer goods, non-durable consumer goods. Example for normal goods. Next, if you observe, if income increases, the demand for normal goods also increases. If income decreases, the demand for normal goods also decreases. That means there is a positive or direct relationship in the case of income of the consumer and demand for superior goods. Next, normal goods generally essential consumer goods, that means necessaries. Second one, luxuries. So generally normal goods, either essential consumer goods, that means necessary, or luxuries. So now let us examine first what is the shape of the demand curve in the case of superior goods or normal goods. So draw L shape, mark YOX, income of the consumer is measured on Y-axis, demand for normal goods is measured on X-axis. Original income is OY, original quantity is OQ. If income increases to OY to OY1, the quantity also increases from OQ to OQ1. Demand also increases from OQ to OQ1. If income increases, demand also increases. If income decreases, demand also decreases. Therefore, demand curve slopes upwards from left to right. So, positive or direct relationship between, in the case of income of the consumer and demand for superior goods. So that is why demand curve slopes upwards from left to right. This is the demand curve. Demand curve slopes upwards from left to right. For example, milk. Gold, jewelry, furniture. or those are all example for normal goods or superior goods. Next, second one is inferior goods. Inferior goods. Inferior goods are those whose demand decreases as income increases and vice versa. Those goods are called inferior goods. Once again, inferior goods are those whose demand decreases as income of the consumer increases and vice versa. That means if income increases, demand for inferior goods decreases, and if income decreases, the demand for inferior goods increases. There is an inverse or negative relationship between income of the consumer and demand for inferior goods. So, inferior goods are those whose demand decreases as income increases and vice versa. If you observe that income increases, demand for inferior goods decreases. Income decreases, demand for inferior goods increases. Therefore, so negative or inverse relationship between income of the consumer and demand for inferior goods. So, negative or inverse relationship between income of the consumer and demand for inferior goods. Therefore, demand curve slopes downwards from left to right. This is the demand curve. If we observe the diagram, so draw L shape, mark YOX, income is measured on Y-axis and demand for inferior goods measured on X-axis. Original income is OY, original quantity is OQ. If income increases OY to OY1, demand decreases from OQ to OQ1. Therefore, so demand curve slopes downwards from left to right. Demand curve slopes downwards from left to right. That shows that there is a negative or inverse relationship between income of the consumer and demand for inferior good. So demand curve slopes downwards from left to right. Example for inferior goods are ragi, jowar, bajra, maize, broken rice, etc. These are the example for inferior goods. సో ఒక్క మాటలో చెప్పాలంటే సుపీరియర్ గుడ్స్ కానివన్నీ కూడా ఇన్ఫీరియర్ గుడ్సే. సుపీరియర్ గుడ్స్ కాని వస్తువులన్నీ కూడా ఇన్ఫీరియర్ గుడ్స్ అని చెప్పచ్చు. సో హియర్ సో దీస్ ఆర్ ద డీటెయిల్స్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్కమ్ డిమాండ్. సో దిస్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ ఇన్కమ్ డిమాండ్. థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ వాచింగ్. Like, share, subscribe and comment.